Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Arieff Najmuddin bin Muhammad Mohtar. In this video, I'm going to present a topic about factors influencing Malaysian state-owned enterprises' liquidity position. A bit of a background on this topic. State-owned enterprises can be referred to as an entities that are fully or partially owned by the government and operates on behalf of the government. State-owned enterprises can be divided into three categories, namely government-linked companies, GLCs, government-linked investment companies, GLICs, and federal statutory bodies. And for this purpose of this research, we will take a look on the government-linked companies. It's important to study the government-linked companies because they are vital to the growth of this nation's economy as it provides income for the country and plays a vital role in being a key industry player in certain sectors. And to gauge the performance of the government-linked companies, it can be done by analyzing its liquidity position, which is important as it determines the sustainability and the survivability of the companies in a worst-case scenario of a short-term unexpected event such as the COVID-19 or the 1997 Asian financial crisis. And considering how government companies or state-owned enterprises are important, the aim of this research paper is to understand and analyze the factors affecting a state-owned enterprise's liquidity position. Liquidity can be defined as the ability of a firm to settle its financial obligations. In the midst of COVID-19, Malaysia was seen to hit its worst performance since 1998, in which the GDP shrank by 5.6%. And the cause to this problem might be explained due to the most of the economic drivers comes from the private corporation. Last year alone, it was reported by the Straits Times that about 30,000 businesses have shut down, and big corporations that was linked or funded by the government was also not spared by the pandemic. In this research, we are going to investigate the extent of internal and external factors on how it could affect a company's liquidity position. Ultimately, the objective of this study is to investigate the factors that influences liquidity position of government-linked companies in Malaysia. For the literature review, liquidity can be referred to as the ability of a company to utilize its current assets to meet its current liabilities. It provides a liquid firm more confidence that their claims will be able to be satisfied within a given time period, as mentioned by Hussain et al. 2018. Meanwhile, for the return on assets, it was indicated as having a significant impact on companies' liquidity position, as mentioned by Deng 2020. The extent of return on assets can be seen in different industries such as in the real estate and the steel firms in Vietnam. While for size, which was based on the natural logarithm of a company's total assets, was widely used in multiple industries such as the commercial banking and manufacturing firms in Vietnam. For the GDP, or commonly known as the total monetary of all finished goods and services produced by a country during a specific time period, Al-Humadi et al. 2019 revealed that GDP plays a major role in affecting liquidity position. However, it was deemed to have a negative influences in the Indian commercial banking system. And lastly, inflation, which can be explained as the rising cost in a basket of general goods that renders the value of money to be weakened. Deng 2020 stated that inflation was deemed to not have any correlation with a company's liquidity position in listed enterprises in Vietnam, and this was also confirmed by Al-Humadi 2019 on listed banks in India. For the methodology of this research, in the research framework, we have the independent variable and the dependent variable. In the independent variable, we have the internal factors, which includes the return on assets and size, and the external factors, which includes the GDP and inflation, which leads to the liquidity, which is based on the current ratio. For the regression model, we have the liquidity equals to the ROA, size, GDP, and inflation. For the data and sampling method, this research uses data that was collected from Thomson Reuters Icon online database. A period of 10 years worth of data was collected and was analyzed using Stata 14 software. The sample of the study comprised of 3 selected government-linked companies that was publicly listed in Bursa Malaysia, and those 3 companies are UMW Holdings Berhad, Petroleum Nasional, and Felda Global Ventures. In this slide, we can see the multiple regression result. Based on the multiple regression result by using the random effect GLS regression, with cluster option for the 4 independent variables of the 3 different companies, it shows a number of observation of 28, which is represented by the letter N. The adjusted R2 indicated a value of 0.5346 or 53.46%, which explained the variance in the liquidity position, while the remaining 46.54% is explained by the other variables that are not included in the study. Additionally, internal factors such as the ROA can be seen to have a significant relationship with liquidity. The result shown in the study is supported by 2016, in which the return on assets was shown as a motive of cash holding, which implies that a firm would hold cash or liquid assets intentionally for a smooth daily transaction. The positive relationship of the return on assets in this research was also supported by Nguyen et al. 2019, in which when return on assets increases, it proves that a firm has the capacity to pay its debt, thus indicating a good financial performance. Meanwhile, for size can be seen to also have a significant relationship with liquidity. The result was consistent with previous studies, which was conducted by Trin and Toy 2016 and Asphalt 2019. The size of firm, which was based on the total assets of the firm itself, does have an influence on liquidity, whereby a larger firm size indicated that the firm might have an excess of current assets or non-current assets, which provides a degree of control on liquidity. Both, in this case, the hypothesis of H1 and H2 are accepted. Lastly, the external factors such as the GDP and inflation were deemed to not have any significant relationship. This might be explained due to the selected companies in this research might have a solid liquidity structure, which is important in preserving its performance, stability, and creating a solid foundation to avoid liquidity crisis, as explained by Insekara and Setinkaya 2019. Therefore, both the third and the fourth hypothesis, H3 and H4, is not accepted. The results shown in this research indicated that size and return on assets were deemed to be statistically significant in influencing the liquidity position of government-linked companies in Malaysia. The result also shows that size was the most significant variable as compared to others, meaning an entity with large asset size will lead to an increase of liquidity position. In the event of a pandemic or a financial crisis, large financial assets thus cushion the financial strain that is certainly being faced by many companies. And this would allow companies with an excess of cash to experience a lower risk of default, thus allowing them to pay off their obligations. The return on assets, on the other hand, was proven to have a statistically significant positive result, and this shows that a company that was able to utilize its assets to generate income would catapult the liquidity position of the company. Both size and the return on asset can be seen to be working in tandem, in which as return on asset increases, it would contribute to the increase of size in terms of current assets, and thus this would result in strengthening the liquidity position of the company. And lastly, a robust liquidity structure would also allow companies to minimize the adverse effect of external factors such as the GDP and inflation. However, this kind of situation would also depend on the kind or the type of industries or sectors in which the companies resides in. And to conclude this presentation, government-linked companies plays an important role in the Malaysian economy, as it doesn't only operate on behalf of itself but also to the country. It was estimated that around 42% of government-linked companies or government-linked investment companies are listed in Bursa Malaysia. And considering how important government-linked companies are and how it plays a major role in our economy and not only function as a merely political tool in our country, government-linked companies was used as a basis for this research. And to better understand the financial performance of government-linked companies in Malaysia, this research employs 4 independent variables which involves 10 years worth of data that was considered as important and significant in affecting liquidity position as according to previous researchers. The result indicated that the size and return on assets belong to the internal factors of the independent variables played a significant part in influencing liquidity. And that is all from me. Thank you.